Leaving home to rent is one of the scariest things to do. Whether you're on your own or with your partner, doing so, it is a life changer. And it will allow you to grow by gaining responsibility and confidence. So here's a personal story in relation to my first time renting. So I moved to Liverpool to rent for about a year. And before I did so, I was working at Cafe Nero, a coffee chain in the UK. And before I moved, I worked and saved up to £4,000 so that I could have a little emergency fund before making the great escape from London to Liverpool. And I knew I'd struggle doing so. So because it was near the end of the year in December and a lot of hiring gets ceased because of Christmas and everyone's fully staffed and it's going to be busy. No one's taking in anyone else. So once I moved in, I immediately tried to look for jobs, and it was about 2 months that it took until I found something. So in those 2 months, I was just living like I was unemployed. I was unemployed. Just burning through that 4K I saved up. Like slowly going out, having coffees, shopping, eating, buying groceries and everything that I needed to live. And at one point, finding no jobs, I got very desperate, and a lot of sales recruitment would reach out to me rather than me reaching out to them. I'd always decline it because I'm like, no, I won't do that kind of job. But after 2 months of burning through my savings, from it going to 4K to around 2K, I finally caved in. I finally replied and got an interview. And after doing an interview, they really liked my personality. I was really bubbly because I was desperate to get in the job. And yeah, I got the interview done and I passed that. And then I moved on to the next stage, which was meeting up with one of them. Since it was a sales job, they all wear suits, and knowing me being broke, I couldn't afford a good suit, so I just went to Primark and H&M. I bought trousers, shirt, blazer. I can't remember, but it was from both shops, making a matching outfit. And yeah, it looked pretty good, despite it being from there and not a big brand, because I only had 2K in my pocket. But once I had the suit, I met one of them at a cafe, and I sat down, waiting for them, looking around in panic and trying to act cool at the same time. And then I received a phone call out of nowhere. I answered it. The guy was sitting across the table from me, and he was like, "You the guy with the beard?" I turned, and then I just see him sipping on a drink, and I was caught off guard. He'd been there the whole time, just looking at me. I sat down with him, had a bit of a chit chat, small talk, and then he just switched into some Wolf of Wall Street personality, like as if it was a click of the finger, and he just completely changed and started basically interrogating me about why I'm fit for the role. And then once I caught wind of it, I immediately locked in. I felt the stress, but also I needed the job, and there was no way I wasn't walking out failing this interview face to face. So I flipped my personality. I acted in a way that I would never do so, to match his. And matching his personality and his level of intent, he loved it, and I passed. Shortly after, he took me to his office And I realized he wasn't like the boss. There were bosses above him. There were no tables and chairs in the office. They didn't believe in sitting, which was wild. I thought it would be a sitting job. Yeah, and then I was briefed on what I was gonna do as a salesman. I was representing an electric company, basically going door to door, asking people to change their electric provider. I was doing 10-hour shifts, doing that, observing and watching. And for about 2 weeks, they pretty much made me do this unpaid. And then the next day going forward, they promised me I'll get my own tablet so I could start doing my own sales. And then the next day came and they gave me a call saying, oh, just stay home, learn your lines. There's too many people in today. And then the next day came again, and then they said the same thing. And then the next day came again, and then they said the same thing. Bear in mind, I'm making no money. Rent's coming in. My savings is at 2K. It's starting to burn because rent is due, and I'm paying for necessities. It's slowly trickling down to the number 0. And while that's happening, I'm getting more and more stress. It's sort of like a countdown. So I needed to make money. So the next following day, after like 4 days of being promised to make money, I put on my suit and I walked into their building when they told me to stay home. I knew the code to the door because I go in, and I walked in and I saw everyone, all the seniors there, and like the CEO immediately looked at me and he knew. And he walked into his office, I walked into his office, we both sat down, and he looked at me, he's like, "You're gonna quit?" I'm like, "Well, yeah. I've got bills to pay. You're not letting me work." I don't know what the actual reason was. Maybe they're trying to shadow fire me. Either way, like, I'm more of a tell it to my face guy. He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, it didn't work out." I'm like, "Oh, no problem. I need to pay rent. That's all. Like, I need to make money. Like, it's just as simple as that." And I shook his hand, he shook my hand. He was positive about it, but you know, I needed a job that makes money. And I'm sure if I did stay and I did work really hard with them, I'm sure I could have made a lot of money with them. But the timing was not right, and I needed to create a buffer. I needed to make myself safe. I needed income. So I quit with my suit on, and I went door to door to businesses asking for a job. And boy, it felt like one of the best experiences ever, because every time I walked into a company, they thought I was someone so important because I was wearing a suit. And I've never had that look before, of people looking at me in a way that, oh, this person's really important. So I walked into what I knew what I was good at, which was coffee. So I walked into a coffee shop and asked for a job, and the woman's like, "Oh yeah, you seem like a good guy. We got a job. You can be a barista." And that day I got a job, which was crazy. I went from quitting a job to getting a job the next day. From there, I had about 1 to 2K savings left, and that was it. It was a very stressful time, but I was able to survive those 2 months because I had an emergency fund. That 4K I saved up before moving to Liverpool, it saved me. It saved me a lot of stress. I didn't have to borrow any money from my family or friends. I was in my own keeping alone. I was responsible for myself, which was the best feeling ever. My stress was finally over. and I started working immediately, making money. And from there, I was able to start rebuilding my emergency fund. And once I did that, I just started investing. I had my emergency fund, so I'm like, oh, let me try investing. So I just started £10 a month, £20 a month, £30 a month, just whatever I could from whatever I had left over. I cut down my spending dramatically so that I could save more, so that future me would be able to survive. And yeah, it was good from there. I could have stayed in Liverpool and just enjoyed my life there, but I wanted to grow more. I wanted to aim for that financial freedom dream. So yeah, after a year of living in Liverpool, I moved back here with my family in London and just continued what I'm doing. Just keep building. Yeah, that was my experience renting. It was tough. When you don't have a job is one of the toughest things ever. To have rent, bills, to have all the other expenses with food, travel. But yeah, going back to that sales job, it taught me a lot about social skills and building connections with people in face to face. And in a weird way, that job allowed me to get my barista job, which was weird because I got that job and basically it built my social skills for me to quit and find an actual job. Even though that job had unlimited potential, if I was given the opportunity, I would have definitely tried to maximize my profits in that career. But hey, everything happens for a reason. And yeah, that's my story with renting and having an emergency fund. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you very much for watching. Appreciate it.